Alright everyone, hello. And now you know what? In the vein of this new series we're starting, where we're kind of talking about, whether or not witchcraft is actually good, or whether or not I've just been too deeply buried in my own bias, I thought we might take a quick pit stop and check out some other videos and other content people have asked me to look at before. Because when people aren't recommending all of the most interesting kinds of books out there to read about spiritual warfare and everything else, they're usually just asking me to pop online and witness any of the myriad of videos about ex-witches or ex-New Agers becoming Christians. So, here's the thing about this, right? People recommend this to me because they think I am a New Ager, but the reality is, nothing about what I do as a Christian witch is really that New Age. I mean, sure, right? Doing any kind of spell work with like herbs and crystals, these are things that a lot of modern witchcraft encompasses now, but it's not anything that any Christian figure hasn't talked about at least a little bit before. Most notably, St. Hildegard von Bingen is one of the original crystal girlies 1,000 years ago and is considered a doctor of the church in the Catholic denomination. In fact, a lot of what we do now as Christian witches has been called so many names before, right? Mystic, healer, wonder worker, theurge, cunning folk, even saint. There are so many Christian figures who have worked with all kinds of mysticism, magic, and all the other kinds of stuff. Of course, people wouldn't call them witchcraft because witchcraft itself is a word with a lot of history, which we talk about in Discovering Christian Witchcraft. But the point still stands that these folks were doing some pretty interesting stuff. Doing some stuff that, by all intents and purposes today, would be considered witchcraft. I consider myself just another member among a very, very, very good set of company. But for other folks who believe that New Age and witchcraft and magic and really anything like that is of the devil, they're going to have a different opinion. And they're asking me to check out their testimony and their experiences just as much as I would talk about my experiences to them. And you know what? Fair enough, right? If I'm willing to sit here and talk about my experiences, I should be able to also go listen to other people's experiences. Unless I'm somehow afraid that they're going to be right or jostle something loose in my brain and set me free from whatever demonic trap I've somehow convinced myself to be in. And I know I've talked about these folks at length before too. I've talked about ex-witches turned Christians before, and maybe I just haven't been charitable enough. So, okay, fine, I'll bite. But before we get started, I will say that right off the bat, I'm not looking at YouTube videos because YouTube videos tend to be really, really long, and I just don't have the attention span or bandwidth to react to 2 hours of content. I also want to see these words directly from the people saying them and not filtered through some kind of podcast host or anything like that. So this means we'll be going to TikTok, where we get some shorter videos discussing people's experiences. And the last thing before we get started I'll say is this. If there is one true weapon against the enemy, it is knowledge. I think I'm someone who has quite a bit of knowledge, but again, maybe there's something I don't know. Maybe there's something these folks know that I will now be enlightened to. So without further ado, let's dive in and check out a few of these videos and see what's going on here.
Hey guys, okay, so I wanted to be more personable on here, on my TikTok platform, and give you guys a true reason and true answer as to why I decided to leave witchcraft and give my life to Jesus, and what made me make this decision in the first place, because it's a big one, and it's one none of us seen coming. As you can see, guys, I do have plans for this tattoo. Anyways, so let me just start. I took some notes so I wouldn't forget the talking points that I have. So the first one is that as soon as I began practicing witchcraft fully, which not just having some crystals or having a deck of tarot cards, like fully devoting my life to witchcraft, was in 2020 fall. And I started because I met a friend, or got more deep involved in a relationship with a friend who was practicing, and it was very alluring, it was very attracting, which is what the devil does. And I fell for it. I gave into temptation, which sent me down a road of giving a long journey of giving into temptations. And essentially, when I began practicing witchcraft fall of 2020, my life completely plummeted. We can get deep. I had 2 unaliving attempts. I was hospitalized twice. I obviously was in deep depression that I've never had before, and I was just all consumed and all surrounded by negativity. Let's see, my next talking point so I don't forget. For me also, I feel like I was allowing witchcraft to justify my negative feelings towards other people, and I was allowing it to like kind of answer for the negative and ill wishes I had towards other people, like an eye for an eye kind of thing, and hexing people and doing all these negative things and terrible things. I was like, it's justified because of what I believe in and what I worship and everything like that. So I allowed it to just allow my life to just be consumed like very heavily with negativity. Okay, and so the next talking point I have is that it was also having me attract a lot of negative people into my life, a lot of friends that weren't having the best intentions for me. During practicing witchcraft, I did cut those friends off, and I do think those were valid cutoffs. However, maybe I would have went about it in a different way, and maybe I wouldn't have attracted them in the first place. My next talking point is that, I'm gonna stop saying talking point because that's just annoying, but I'm not a public speaker, guys, so I don't even usually get on here and talk. I use music and whatever. So I felt a negative pull when it came to practicing witchcraft. Like, if I was not practicing, I felt a negative pull to practice. Like, I felt negative about it. Like, I was like if I wasn't practicing for a month, I'd feel guilty. I'd have a lot of negative feelings, like guilt and shame for not doing it. However, as soon as I decided to let go of witchcraft and give my life to Christ, it felt positive. It felt like, I've been waiting for you. Come home. Like, you're welcome here. There's no judgment. Like, that's how it felt, literally. And so there's that. And then it also just never completely felt right to me. People would ask me about my practice and everything, and it couldn't really give straightforward answers because it never really felt right. It always felt weird. I also felt like I was under spiritual warfare. A lot of demonic forces were visiting me. I won't get into that too much because it's a little spooky, and it kind of drove me to a point where I felt like I was going insane. I also was having dreams and letting those negative dreams dictate my life choices. And now I just feel free from all of that, and I feel free from a lot of things that I was believing and a lot of just negativity. I feel like a weight off my shoulder. I feel like I even look a little bit different. So yeah, that's my answer. A little bit long of a video. Bye.
Okay, so with that one, I think one of the biggest things that jumps out to me right away is the fact that this person says, it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it was for me. I felt guilty when I didn't do stuff. I felt negative, right? I attracted negative people. And namely, unfortunately, that this person had some unaliving attempts. That's pretty scary, right? But all these things in tandem, what they say to me is that this was not the spiritual structure that this person needed. And that's okay. I'm going to be the first to come out here and say this. Witchcraft is not for everybody, just like Christianity is not for everybody, right? Like, I'm not going to go walk up to a Hindu or a Muslim or a Buddhist or anyone else and try and shake them into worshiping God if they feel that they are in the right place with their spiritual paradigm. This person eventually is saying, well, you know, once I came back to Jesus, it was like, oh, welcome home, there's no judgment, it feels good, it feels positive. That's great. I'm genuinely happy. Like, genuinely, God bless you, girly. But, like, that's not exclusive to Christianity. There are tons of people who feel that way about their current spiritual path. And that spiritual path is not necessarily Christianity. In fact, that's the way I feel as a Christian witch, right? Doing my thing by myself. With the witchcraft, though, with the, you know, feeling it's okay to hex and, like, letting negative people in and all these other kinds of things, yeah, I definitely find that when people are engaging with witchcraft irresponsibly, coming into witchcraft with a lot of baggage, that's something that happens because they think of witchcraft as this inherently negative thing, this kind of like I'm the power thing, and what that does is kind of give them this sense that somehow morality like magically changed and that it's suddenly okay to hurt people. To which I, as a Christian who has done baneful workings and who has absolutely hexed people before under God's directive, I'll say no. Doesn't matter really what you're doing. It's not okay to just be hurting people for the fun of it. I would always, even if I weren't a Christian witch, I really think I would have to warn people that there's a lot of ego that one has to check before they start trying to be an agent of justice, right? Like, you can't just willy-nilly go cursing people because they stepped on your toe or because, you know, they don't like the same band as you or whatever nonsense. Even if it's something more justifiable, like they did something really bad to you. I mean, at some point, it becomes a shortcut to one's results. It becomes a way to bypass actual personal inner growth to just hex people instead of reflect on the situation. This is one of those cases where I'm very happy that Girly is in a better mental headspace, that she found a path that makes her feel good, that makes her feel connected to Source, to God, that makes her feel positive and like she can be an agent for good change out in the world. Great. However, whether or not that's because of witchcraft, I can't say. To me, it seems like more this is just how she viewed witchcraft and decided to approach witchcraft before getting into it. That was the real problem. Because for me as a witch, I have absolutely zero of these problems. I don't have a single one of these problems. So, okay, let's try another one.
People literally think that witchcraft is no big deal, that it's just playing with rocks, or if you've gone into dark magic, that's just your thing. But here's the thing, is I'm somebody who was in witchcraft, introduced as a child, pursued it as a teenager, came into it in my 20s, worked with a medium, all that. And here's the thing, is that it is like you are in a gang when you are in witchcraft and you try to get out. Now, if you're in it, oh, you're just in it, and things happen, and you kind of become desensitized. That's what happened to me. I became desensitized to all the demonic stuff, which was the spiritual warfare, all the things that I involved myself in. I became desensitized to so much evil. But once I made the decision that I wanted to get out, it was like I had to get jumped out by the demonic. When you are in a gang, you have to be initiated in, okay? It's the same thing with witchcraft. There are things that you have to do. You get initiated in, and if you want to get out, you have to get jumped out. Or they come for your family, they come for your friends. I was gang affiliated in my addiction and in early sobriety, and so I know a little bit of stuff about that, and I parallel it to the spiritual realm. When I got out of witchcraft, I got saved, I got baptized, I experienced a lot of demonic stuff, I backslid for a while, and then when I went into that prayer session and I got delivered for 3 hours, right? I had all these demons being cast out of me, been mentally healed, physically healed since. But when that happened, those demons, those witchcraft spirits, those sexual demons, those tormenting, foul, wicked, unclean things that the Bible talks about, they came for me. They came for my household. And we were literally under siege. My roommate, my ex, we had experienced a ton of warfare as a result. Crazy. I just recorded this whole second part of the video and it randomly just vanished. I hit the next button and it vanished. That's how you know the enemy doesn't want you speaking about what you're going to speak about. During the month of October, there are so many rituals and things that are going on that people don't even know about. Witchcraft is intensified during this month. And in October, every single year, since deliverance, I can feel the pull of the enemy. So if you are feeling the allure, the pull to watch scary movies, to go to haunted houses, to be a part.
I'm just going to pause this one early because this one sounds like a lot of silliness. Okay. What? I'm sorry. What do you mean it feels like gang activity? What on earth? So I noticed how we don't really get any specifics. Oh, all of this stuff happened, my mental, physical health. We don't really get any specifics that would tell me what. It just sounds spooky. Oh my goodness, it's like you're leaving a gang. Meanwhile, there are entire sects of Christianity that kind of do the same thing. In fact, I was like casually setting up for like the little eclipse thing I'm gonna do today, because it's, Aries new moon eclipse, and as I'm thinking about what I'm gonna do, up rolls the Jehovah's Witnesses with this. And the funny thing about the Jehovah's Witnesses is that they are the kind of denomination that when you leave their church, they literally act like you are dead. They don't talk to you, they don't have anything to do with you, you are gone, you are an apostate, goodbye, you never happened. There is some seriously cult-like behavior going on in many Christian denominations. And people with this kind of rhetoric who come hot and fast like this with, oh, it's demonic, witchcraft spirits. I mean, the sexual spirits, the witchcraft spirits, what does that mean? Because right now we're just sounding a lot like old Jenny LeClaire back here, and I'm a little... Stuff like that immediately puts me off because all I hear is, buy something from me, or I want likes, or I want engagement, and this is a great story to tell. Like, if you stop being a witch, you know what happens? Nothing. And actually, to go back to the first one, when you get into witchcraft and your life falls apart, sometimes that's because there are things in your life that don't serve you. I know that every time I felt like my life fell apart because I went through some spiritual growth thing or some new journey or whatever, it's because there was something in my life that I was holding on to that was hurting me, that I was too scared to let go of, until finally it disintegrated out of my hands like sand. And once I was finally no longer able to hold on to it, suddenly my life got better. So I'm not sure what this person thinks is going on with, I was so attacked after getting out of witchcraft, but as far as I'm concerned, once again, it sounds like maybe someone wasn't very careful or someone wasn't very responsible with it. And then also someone hyped themselves up a lot and had a lot of, placebo. But they had a lot of placebo, where they had already decided that this was the cause, and so they went looking for signs that their life was being messed with and attributed it all to these spirits that they apparently left behind. I'm getting heavy grift vibes from that one, so I'm going to take that one as bad faith. That one is not done in good faith, and we're going to move on.
Witchcraft is real hard to do when you realize I'm working in the demonic realm, and they want to steal, kill, and destroy me. It's real hard to pick witchcraft up after that, So I remember that night, I'm going to bed, and I see this dark figure, and it's got a dark face, it's hunched over, it's in a red robe and a crown of thorns, and I think to myself, that's not Jesus. I've driven myself insane. I just need to go to bed and cool off on all this. Nothing in my mind thinks it's a demon, because I don't believe in demons. And some time goes by, and then I'm trying to lay down and go to bed, and sleep paralysis comes over me again. But this time, it's different, because this time I'm levitating about 4 feet out of my body. And I can't say I felt afraid or sad, because it was this overwhelming sense of hopelessness, just complete inhuman hopelessness, total lack of light. While I'm levitating outside my body, it's a sensation of I'm being ripped. I'm being ripped out and something's trying to come in. And I'm forced, as I'm outside of my body, to look to one side, and I see my child getting horribly abused. And I can't look away, I can't close my eyes, I can do nothing, I'm paralyzed, I just have to watch. And then, like in slow motion, I'm turned to see the other side, and it's my other child being graphically abused, but in a different way. And I can do nothing but watch. And I know a couple things to be true in this moment, even though I'm totally paralyzed. I know that even though I don't believe in demons, I'm in the presence of the demonic right now. I know that I'm seeing the plan for myself and for my children. And something in me knew I needed to call on the name of Jesus. It couldn't be my obsidian rock. It couldn't be my spirit guides. It couldn't be my tarot. It couldn't be Krishna or oneness. Or it only could be the name of Jesus. And I'm too paralyzed to pray. I can't. But I can get out in my head. Jesus, Jesus, Jesus.
Those are the kinds that just give me a weird feeling. Like a very like, are you okay? Because like I've had encounters with sleep paralysis, so do a lot of people. That's like a normal thing that happens sometimes. And then when your body can't move, your brain makes up a lot of really spooky, dangerous stuff because it assumes that you are in danger because you cannot move. Like this is a documented thing. It happens. What demon is chasing after me if I am having a sleep paralysis dream about someone delivering Chinese food to the wrong apartment door and me trying to just get my Chinese food and get up to my apartment before the door closes? You know, like, it's not all sleep paralysis dreams make sense or have something to do like this. To me, this really just sounds like a horrifically bad dream. If this is the thing that brought them back to Jesus, okay, I guess. As long as they feel authentically connected to Jesus in the waking world, and they are totally fine being a Christian, cool. But everything about this is giving me red flags. The delivery, the setup, the way this even looks, the way this is presented. This is another one of those things where it makes me think about those Christians who, you know, they do their traveling exorcism shows, and then they call on a random crowd member to get an exorcism, and then they do this big, gigantic show and dance only for other people to find out that, oh, the person they exorcised is someone who travels with them pretending to be a random crowd member. I can speculate a lot what happened there. There's a lot that could go on, and I don't want to play armchair psychologist, so I'm gonna chalk that one up to being an unfortunate experience if it's real. One that I'm glad that it got them to where they feel comfortable and safe, but also one that I don't trust based on the presentation and also just the weird way that made me feel wasn't fun.
So if you're involved in witchcraft right now, or the New Age movement, and you're involved in spell work, crystal therapy, crystal healing, astral travel, lucid dreaming, Reiki, chakra healing, yoga, or anything like that, and you're always trying to manifest things into your life, and you're praying to the universe instead of the creator, I just want you to know that emptiness inside you that you feel, that's not going to go away. I tried to fill that void my entire life, and the only thing that filled that void was Jesus Christ. So I encourage you today that, you know, if you want to feel something more than what you feel, and you want to feel true supernatural power and love, that just surrender your heart over to Jesus, and I promise you won't be disappointed. It's the most supernatural, beautiful, powerful love that you're ever going to find.
Who wrote that script for you, babe? Because that was the least authentic thing I've ever heard. And once again, not my experience. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a Christian witch and I'm already working with God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit, but like, I have never felt more whole, at peace, gentle, accepting, confident, secure than before doing this path, you know? Like, genuinely, I can't think of the last time that I felt anything like what this person was describing. The only thing I can remember that where maybe I did feel like a little out of sorts, a little out of my depth, was when I was like a teenager and didn't really know what I was doing because nothing felt like concrete enough. I didn't have the knowledge. As we were saying earlier, knowledge is the real tool against any enemy. And back then when I was a teen and I was just starting, I didn't have all the knowledge I needed. Now, I mean, I've accepted I'll never have all the knowledge I need because learning is a lifelong process. However, I know enough at least to know that, yeah, I'm doing good. Like, I'm fine. Like, genuinely, I've only come to love God more through witchcraft than anything else. I mean, if not for witchcraft, I never would have been able to feel comfortable with religion. I never would have been able to allow myself to experience the joy of communal worship and, you know, just praise of God. I never would have been able to step foot back into a church again because it was through witchcraft that I was able to directly approach this God, directly speak to him, and really build that connection without all the of man in the way. Without that, I couldn't have had a proper connection to God, and one that is stable enough to actually withstand any of the otherwise terrible things that happen in the world, especially in the name of God. Does that make sense? Because, like, I just hear things like that and it just feels so scripted, hollow, and not real. Okay, again, if this girl genuinely believes it, yay, hooray. The Child of God sweatshirt, though, is really kind of like, it made me a little, But, again, if she's happy, truly, and she's, doing things that she wants to do, and this is the path that she feels happy with, cool. To me, did not feel genuine, but okay.
I just found some New Age and witchcraft teachings that were hidden away in my drawer that I had completely forgotten about, and it was just sitting there for years, and I'm going to expose that. You have crystals, soak in water and salt in the full moonlight for daily protection, face north, and do the prayer and blow clockwise. So I'm obviously going to get rid of that, but I'm making this video for 2 reasons. First, because it's part of my testimony, because every time I make a video explaining the deception behind New Age teachings, I always get this comment that I have a fear of the unknown, right? That I'm just a religious Christian that fears the unknown and that doesn't really understand it. So this is to show how deeply I was involved in that stuff. Second, it's to remind you that if you left the New Age and you have any items related to the occult, to get rid of them. This has been sitting in my drawers for a long time and I have completely forgotten about. Demons are experts at legality, and if you give them a legal right, even through objects, they might use that against you. God is so good to have delivered me from all of that, considering how deeply I was involved in that stuff, thinking that I was a white witch, doing white magic, and that white magic is good, and that, well, God or the universe gave us those gifts, that sensitivity to the spirit, to be able to have a positive impact. And if I can do that through magic and alchemy, then that's my calling. Like, that's really what I thought. And that's what a lot of people think in the New Age. A lot of Christians who hear the word occult think that it's some, crazy things that are repulsive. It can look like love and light and healing, because Satan masquerades as an angel of light.
Pour one out every time someone just says the devil masquerades as an angel of light without really knowing what that means, or without reflecting on it at all. For instance, the devil masquerading as an angel of light, I don't know why people think it only comes in the form of crystals and smoke cleansing, and not say, the pastor who tries to fleece his congregation of tons and tons of money while still preaching the Bible.
Rulers of the darkness of this world.
Nonetheless, okay, so we've all been to spellsofmagic.com. We've all seen the goofy little spells on there. That's where I started when I was 12, and I was doing my little speed up time spells with a red pen on a notebook. But just because you're doing stuff like that doesn't mean you really know what you're doing. It doesn't mean you understand magical philosophy. Magic absolutely comes from God. If you understand magic as simply the spiritual energy in your body, aka the breath of life, ruach, right? All that kind of stuff. So I'm just a little confused here. Holding up a notebook where it says spin in a circle and clap your hands and do the chicken dance as a spell, that's not really, first of all, that's not really that bad. Whatever, charge your crystals, girly, they're rocks. Remember I said St. Hildegard? They're rocks. We all like rocks. But also, what do you mean demons can just get in legally? What? Objection! Huh? I don't, demons do not need an item to appear in your house. Because the concept of a demon isn't whatever Hollywood nonsense people think it is. Take that! Spirits are always around because negativity exists just as much as positivity does, and they are inherently spirits that like to operate on that negativity. Not like the kings and princes and stuff. I'm talking an actual teeny tiny little demon, one that makes up the legions that follow these kings and princes. They just are what they are. They do what they do, and what they do happens to be pick at things that we don't like about ourselves to get us to finally embrace them, to encapsulate them, to pull them off. You can't really fix a problem if you don't acknowledge the problem is there, right? But here's the thing though, for every video that's like this where X-Witch turns Christian, okay, well now that I've looked at a few, all I'm really getting is people are being like, I had spooky dreams, I had bad mental health, my life felt like it was just going up in smoke. Okay, these are mental health concerns. As a witch, I'm going to tell all of you right now, you need to be able to sit in a certain headspace to do any kind of spiritual work like this. In fact, that applies to any religion, Christian, Hindu, Wiccan. Doesn't really matter what it is religiously, doesn't really matter what you're doing as a practice spiritually. You need to be able to ground yourself in reality enough to understand when something is a spirit and when something is just a sign that you need to go make an appointment with your therapist. Sometimes they look like the same thing, but they are not. You need to take care of your mental, physical, and emotional health first if you're going to have any kind of solid understanding of what's going on in your spiritual life. However, again, there are tons of people who had the opposite experience, where they were really trying super, super hard to be a Christian, and it was a more personal spiritual path, witchcraft or some other religion or some kind of form of paganism, anything else, that actually got them to their true happy core. How do you explain that? How do you explain all of these ex-Christians turned New Ager or turned witch or turned pagan or whatever, who have just the exact same experience as the ex-witches turned Christian, just in reverse? Is it maybe that, I don't know, the whole concept of religion is an inherently deeply personal thing, and that there is no such thing as a one-size-fits-all connection with the divine? Is it maybe that if God could make ants and otters so radically different that he could also make each person radically different, and understand that each person's going to need a different way to connect with an infinite and ineffable being? Gotcha! And remember, us in the Christian witch community have many much the same experiences. Some of my greatest friends, Hannah, Lena, Mimi, we have these experiences where we were either raised in a weird church or just deeply affronted by the concept of the modern church, and we found God himself again through our practicing of witchcraft. It was through our magic, our rituals, and everything else that we discovered, oh no, this is the door I was looking for to God all along. And it wasn't a church, and it wasn't even the Bible. It was quite literally sitting down in front of him and saying, why this, why that? And of course we opened our Bibles again to find, where he was leading us, and we studied them well and good. But a lot of the answers about God can't just be found in that book, because that book is not the be-all end-all of this world. Many answers about God are found in the trees, in the waters, in the winds. Many of them are found in other people. Many of them are found in the spirit world. Many of them are found in books about the Bible that are not the Bible. God is infinite. He cannot be contained in one book. And frankly, if there's anything that I learned just perusing a little bit, just looking through all these things, it's that a lot of these people have some kind of agenda, which is made very patently obvious. A lot of people genuinely believe the experiences that they had, and those experiences were not great, and I understand perfectly that they would get scared and they would run to something that is comfortable and safe, that culturally they might have grown up understanding is comfortable and safe, and that genuinely some people just aren't cut out for witchcraft, and that's okay. Some people are better off in an established and organized religious structure like Christianity, rather than kind of trying to do something as self-directed and difficult to navigate as witchcraft. There's a reason, right, that witches and wizards, they're portrayed as these academic types. It's because the amount of information, the amount of study, the amount of research, the amount of understanding, philosophy, all these other things you need to know before you can really fully grasp what's going on in your practice is immense, right? Like the wizards and witches, they are the scholars. They're the ones whose whole thing is books and tomes and writing and research and libraries and all this kind of stuff. There's a reason that aesthetic exists, right? And I find a lot of people, because witchcraft has become so mainstream, they jump into it thinking that that's the thing for them, when it's really not. And also, no one seems to talk about the fact that a lot of New Age stuff is just repackaged evangelical Christianity, but that's a separate conversation for another time. Nonetheless, I really hope that every one of these people is genuinely on these paths because they believe it's right and true for them. I hope that they find God in whatever way they believe is the most authentic to them. I hope that they are doing better if they were having these mental health struggles. And also, I hope that maybe one day they come to understand that their experience is not universal. Because I'm not going to sit here and act like my experience is universal. Some people don't get closer to God with witchcraft, some people get farther away. It happens. But nonetheless, all I can say is that a lot of these people, what they're talking about is completely foreign to me. Or at least, even if there are some overlap, like again, the concept of your life kind of exploding every now and then. Yeah, I mean, that's just a fact of life as well. That's kind of the point of the Tower as a tarot card. All that aside, though, not impressed with this. But I hope the best for these people. So, that's all I got this time. I will see you guys next time for some more discussion. And I hope you have a great rest of your week.